to the channel. I'm Ricky Myers, and you have landed at the home of the action thriller collector. Cheers, my morning coffee. This one's from Abbey Road Studios on a trip family took 2 years ago now. Good coffee. Yeah, Abbey Roads. You go to London, you've got to drive over, take a cab over to Abbey Road. Take your picture crossing the street. Try not to get run over by the locals, and then head down to the studio, museum, gift shop, what have you, and all kinds of cool stuff there. Of course, everybody knows Abbey Road from simply the album cover from the Beatles album Abbey Road, but there was so much more music that was made at Abbey Road, including stuff by Pink Floyd, and the list just goes on and on, Alan Parsons and others. But that's not what we're here to talk about. If you want to hear that kind of stuff, then zip over to the Golden Age of Hard Rock, my other channel. But this channel is about the action thriller genre and all the subgenres that you get there, with spy fiction, military stories, government intrigue, survival, man against nature, all of that stuff. I call it my manbrary, my collection of books and movies along this theme. So I just wanted to cover the books that I read in the month of January for 2025. And this is what I started my month out with. A super classic, Man on Fire by A.J. Quinnell. Of course, that's his pen name. It's not his real name, but trying to get that guy zoomed in. I love all the old artwork when they made drawings instead of just took photos. So you have the main character there with the romantic lead, and then there he is, Mr. Assassin. Anyway, Man on Fire. This one, I'm going to come up with a rating system as I read my books. I used to do it years ago before I had a YouTube channel, and then I lost track of it somewhere along the way. But let's see. If I'm going to rate things on a scale of 10, 1 to 10, 10 being the best, this one is getting a 10. A 10. This book is a 10. If you have not read it, there's your back blurbs off of this thing. If you have not read this book, you need to get yourself a copy. You don't have to get a first printing like this, which is going to set you back probably 50 to $100, but get a copy of Man on Fire and read it. It's just a pure joy to read. If you're into this genre, this book, it doesn't get better than this. So this is what I started the month out with. I read this, and I'm going to rate this 10 out of 10. And then, of course, right after I read it, I had to go out and make sure that I checked out the first movie version of this with Scott Glenn that came out in 1987. And there's your back for this one. You know, I like this version, and I definitely like the cover that they put on here. I like this version, but I know a lot of people are torn between this one and the 2004 version, which you may know as Denzel Washington. Try to get that glare out of there. A lot of people choose the first version, and I'm really torn on it, but I say if you use the metric of your spouse, which one of these movies would they enjoy? This would be the movie that is a more complete movie experience. I'm not going to give away any spoilers because you should read this book. The book is 10 out of 10. These movies, though, I would not give them 10 out of 10. They do not follow the book, for one thing. Neither one of these follow the book. They both deviate in different ways. But I know I might catch some flack. Because I'm torn, but trust me, I'm torn. I like both of these versions, but I think if you're trying to have a date night with your spouse, they're gonna like this version better. Okay, So that was the first book that I read this month, Man on Fire. Second book, I bought it during the month and I read it right after Man on Fire, and that is this little thing right here, Magnum Force, a novelization of the movie. And how many pages was this? It was a fast read, like 175 pages. So not that much to this, by somebody named Mel Valley. So yeah, what do I rate this? On a 1 to 10, I'm going to give this a 7.5. 7.5. It was enjoyable. But when I watched the movie right afterwards, which I also bought on the same day actually, but when I watched this movie, it was like word for word, Mr. Mel Valley, literally just, I think, sat down, watched the movie, and wrote the story. It does not deviate one bit from the movie. So if you got the movie, then why do you need the book? Yeah. Anyway, that was the second thing that I read. And the third and last thing that I read this month, I just finished it, as a matter of fact, last night, and that is The Gray Man by Mark Greaney. And you may think, wow, you've never, correct? I have never read a Mark Greaney book. This was my first one, and I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. And that's fresh off of just finishing this last night. 8.5. There is a ton of action in this, and I guess my only complaint would be is that the action is just so intense. Several times I'm like, nobody's going to live through that. You're not going to be able to continue to go after these guys and mount any assault. Again, don't want to give away any spoilers for anyone. It was a thoroughly enjoyable read, but at times I felt it stretched the bounds of reality. Now, maybe that's what it's supposed to be, like a James Bond type thing. Yeah, I'm going to read more of them though. So trust me, I'm going to read more and I'll see how they go. Do they get more based in reality, or is this the style and it stays like this? Okay, so next up is, what am I starting on? What is the next book? I won't forecast too far into the future, but I can tell you the next book that I'm going to read, because I really haven't made my mind up after this book, but the next book that I'm going to read is The Spy Who Came In From the Cold by John le Carré. And man, I love that artwork. Let's get that up there. The Brandenburg Gate and concertina wire, barbed wire. What you got on the back? You just have some I don't know what it's definitely a vintage type set, but yeah. Beautifully written, immensely perilous, and inspired work in which the author's own inner excitement kindles the page. Well, this is what I'm going to be tackling next. I'm almost embarrassed to say that I have never read this particular book. And this is also I've heard it is a quick read, and looking at it here, it's 219 pages. So I will probably rip right through that in no time. After that, I don't know. I go where the wind blows. But what I'd like to know is, what did you read in the month of January for 2025? Whether it was 10 books or you're still on the very first one that you cracked a page on. Let me know. Drop it down in the comments. Let's get a dialogue going, people. What did you read in January? Until next time, happy collecting.